All right, today we're tackling a huge one, the aging heart. We're going to try and unlock this riddle of why our most vital organ seems to get more and more vulnerable over time. And it all boils down to a fascinating process called cellular senescence. So let's just dive right in with the big question. We all hear that getting older is a massive risk factor for heart disease. But have you ever really stopped to ask why? I mean, it can feel like it's just inevitable, but what's actually going on under the hood biologically? That's the mystery we're going to unpack today. And make no mistake, the stakes here are incredibly high. For decades, cardiovascular diseases have been the #1 cause of death, period. And while we focus a ton on things like diet and exercise, and we absolutely should, the research keeps pointing to an even more fundamental driver, age itself. Understanding that link isn't just an academic exercise, it's everything when it comes to improving our health span.
Okay, so if we're gonna solve this mystery, we've got to go microscopic. We need to meet the main suspects in this biological detective story. And trust me, scientists have given them the perfect nickname, zombie cells.
Now, their official name is senescent cells, and the whole concept is pretty wild. See, when a cell gets damaged or just too stressed out, it has a couple of options. It can die off cleanly, which is called apoptosis, or it can enter this state, senescence. Now, it stops dividing, which is actually good. It's a defense against cancer. But here's the catch. It doesn't die. It just hangs around, a zombie. And as we get older, more and more of them build up in our tissues, especially our heart and blood vessels.
This diagram here really lays out the whole chain of events. It's like a cascade of dominoes. You can see on the left, it all starts with aging and stress, which leads to stuff like DNA damage and inflammation. That flips a switch inside the cell, triggering this toxic state where it starts spewing out all sorts of nasty stuff. We call that SASP. And the end of that chain reaction, as you can see on the right, is a whole host of age-related diseases, with heart disease right at the top of the list. So you might be thinking, okay, they're just old cells taking up space, what's the big deal? Well, it's so much worse than that. These zombie cells are actively hostile. They're constantly releasing a chemical arsenal that basically sounds a nonstop, low-grade inflammatory alarm throughout your body.
And that chemical arsenal? That's the SASP we just mentioned. And you should really think of it as a toxic cocktail. These zombie cells are just spewing out all these signals that scream inflammation, along with enzymes that literally chew up the tissue around them. It's like biological friendly fire, damaging all the perfectly healthy, hardworking cells in the neighborhood.
Now, when this is happening all over your body, you get a condition that researchers have dubbed inflammaging. And it's exactly what it sounds like, inflammation driven by aging. This isn't like the sharp, helpful inflammation you get from a paper cut. No, this is a chronic, smoldering fire that just creates a terrible environment for your organs, and it's a huge, huge risk factor for heart disease.
Let's zoom right in on the crime scene, the cardiovascular system. Over on the left, you've got your stressors, DNA damage, oxidative stress, you name it, hitting key cells in your heart and blood vessels. In the middle, bam, those cells turn into zombies and start pumping out that toxic SASP cocktail. This creates this local firestorm of inflammation that spreads to neighboring cells, and that leads directly to the diseases you see on the right: atherosclerosis, calcification, hypertension, the works.
And this isn't some vague general problem. It's happening to very specific, incredibly critical cells. We're talking about the endothelial cells that form the delicate lining of your blood vessels, the smooth muscle cells that control your blood pressure, and even your cardiomyocytes, your actual heart muscle cells. These are the absolute frontline troops for your heart, and they're being turned into zombies.
Okay, so that's the problem. And it's a pretty convincing case against these zombie cells and their toxic signals, right? So the very obvious next question is, what are we going to do about it? Can we actually fight back?
Well, the good news is, modern medicine is exploring this from two main angles, two main strategies to try and counter this age-related attack.
Think of it this way. You have the assassin versus the pacifier. The assassin approach uses what are called senolytics. These are drugs designed to hunt down those zombie cells and, well, destroy them. Take out the source of the problem completely. The pacifier approach is different. It uses xenomorphics. These drugs don't actually kill the cells, they just shut them up. They suppress those harmful SSAP signals and basically just calm them down.
Now, both of these are incredibly exciting avenues of research. But for now, let's focus in on that pacifier strategy, because there's a particularly elegant and promising approach being explored there, using peptides.
And honestly, this is where the story gets really hopeful. Scientists are looking at using these tiny little chains of amino acids, peptides, to essentially speak the body's own language and help it restore health from the inside out.
And you know, this idea isn't brand new. There was research way back in 2004 using a peptide mix called epithalamin, and it was shown to help restore more youthful hormone rhythms in older folks. So the core principle of using peptides to fight age-related decline, it's got a track record.
The research paper we're looking at puts it perfectly. Peptides aren't some foreign drug we're inventing. They are the body's own natural regulators of function. So the whole strategy is to just leverage this beautiful, existing system to our advantage.
And this research is getting so specific now, we're not talking about vague theories. Look at these examples. You've got a peptide called KETAR-D that works directly on those critical cells lining our blood vessels. Another one, AEDR, was found to dramatically reduce deaths after a heart attack in animal models. Then there's ligrolutide, which shows anti-inflammatory properties and helps reduce blood pressure. This is targeted, molecular-level stuff.
So how on earth do these tiny little molecules have such a massive impact? Well, the proposed mechanism is just incredible. They're thought to be able to get inside the cell, go right into the nucleus, and interact directly with the DNA. They can actually help regulate which genes get turned on and off. So we're not just talking about treating symptoms, this is like going into the source code to help restore more youthful, healthy function.
And this right here is the whole point. This is the paradigm shift. This pacifier approach with peptides offers a really fascinating alternative. Instead of a scorched earth strategy of just killing all the senescent cells, which who knows what unintended consequences that could have, we might be able to simply calm them down. We could quiet that inflammatory storm of aging right at its source. It's a shift from fighting a war to restoring peace.
So that leaves us with this incredible, forward-looking question. We are just beginning to understand this complex interplay between aging, inflammation, and cellular communication. But it really makes you wonder, could learning to speak this biological language, the language of peptides, be the key not just to a longer life, but to a fundamentally healthier one? It's a profound thought to end on. Thanks for joining us.